Welcome to our fifth webinar, Sparks of Light. This week we're talking about the Kabbalistic principles of relationship. And here we're gonna learn a lot of interesting things about how to make your relationships count much more. So let's begin. Most people, they believe in God, right? And in Judaism, it's not really just a belief. We're meant to know God, because you only need to believe what you don't have proof about. And we know God to be a fact, and therefore Jewish law actually tells us to know and understand God. Now, in the wisdom of Kabbalah, we can easily prove there is an intelligent order in the world, because it follows the blueprint of the Torah. That's the whole Kabbalah wisdom that we've been talking about in the blog. Now, the word used for knowing is dat, which is also the Sephira that we know of the mochin, of the intellect, as we learned in the previous webinars. This means that in order to ultimately understand a thing is also to actually have a form of an intimate relationship. In fact, the word dat actually is used for marital relations. Now, in Hebrew, having an actual experience of that thing is being united with it, just like a man and a woman are united in the act of intimacy. Having said all that, it's important to then study God's involvement in the universe in order to know and experience him. We know that God is always adapting his providence to us in real time. And in order to understand and know him, we need to believe and to see that, to know for a fact that he exists. It's very, very important, very big novelty in Kabbalah that, especially from the Rizal, that we say that there not a single day is like any other day that existed since the beginning of creation. Everything that is happening right now is a completely new creation, created from anew every single day, and it's a new tikkun. We're gonna see that soon. And it's a very simple principle, actually, that many people hold by, that everything that is happening right now in your life is for your very best, and it has incredible deep purpose and the meaning. It's directly from God. And this is brought in many, many different sources, including the Chovot HaLevavot. And so it's important that we know that the way we deal with others, now going back to our webinar, of course, after that introduction, the way we deal with others is the way that God deals with you. And some call this karma, but in Hebrew, it's called the midah keneged midah, meaning a measure for a measure. I can't stress this enough because it explains so much of what's going on in our lives. And in fact, this could be one of the most important and basic principles of all Judaism. Now, dealing with people can be quite a challenge. If you're like me, you're an introvert probably, you can see that people can be quite annoying or sometimes even despicable sometimes, and it's just very difficult to open up to somebody else who you don't know, and this can be quite difficult. There's also something very important to keep in mind, which is that the people we interact with, they are a mirror to us. If we are kind, they'll be kind, generally. If we're sad, they also act sad. And so this is a very important thing to keep in mind, because what we put in our relationships is what we're going to get back. This is why also many of the rabbis, they tell us, couples to give to each other freely, to bring as much as they can, to have to sometimes sacrifice themselves for each other. This is a very important thing, because you are investing in yourself in them. In the wake of all this horrible tragedy that we saw 42 days ago, there was actually this fascinating story by this old lady, right, whose house was raided by the terrorists, Hamas terrorists, Imach Shemam. And she realized she had no recourse, nothing to do. She could to save herself. So what did she do? She was kind. She just decided to treat him to cookies and coffee, and said, you know what, you guys are probably tired, and let me take care of you guys. She was an old lady. What could she do in then? And so she stalled them up to the point that she was able to save herself, because they couldn't. People feel indebted to kindness. That's a very important and powerful thing in human relationship. People don't like to owe others, and so even if you're kind, it's you're investing in yourself in them. Now, based on all this, we should realize that also that other people are witting or unwitting messengers of God, and they give us valuable hints to guide us in our path. Often I personally found answers to unrelated problems when dealing with other people. That actually happened quite a lot of times. And this is the way we do it is by linking certain words and numbers that they say to whatever other things that we need. For example, we have a big problem in our head, and sometimes the person says, "Well, my uncle tried something that you were saying. It's completely unrelated, and it did not work well." Okay, so he may be a downer and he may be sad, but deep in his words, you might find out that you have the answer to whether you should invest in a business or not, or whether you should pursue a certain course in life or not. And this is called synchronicity. Many people who have their eyes open, they can get these wonderful hints from God. Let's say you go around the street and you're talking to somebody, and this somebody just talks to his kid, "Oh, don't do something stupid like that." Yeah. So you have to realize that this message is also for you, even though the fact that you heard it is 100% meant for you also. The question is what is the meaning of that? And of course, each person has to do it, but they do to pray to find out with God what was meant by that. And this is just one of the way of understanding a relationship, because when we have this expanded consciousness that, yeah, well, actually, people are here to help me, but they're actually my mirrors. They help me understand my pathway. They help me understand what I'm lacking. Then it becomes so much more easier to deal with them. Now, obviously, you should not. I guess I should have said this before. I should have said this before. But never take something personally. It's not, sometimes a person is just having a bad day. Sometimes they didn't sleep well. Sometimes they didn't eat well. Sometimes they had bad news of a lifetime, chas v'shalom. And so this could be a very important, it's crucial that we realize that, because people are not machines. They are not, robots. They have their feelings. They have their problems. We tend to think that only we have our problems, but no, actually people can be also suffering quite a lot. For starters, it's important to, I like to say this always, it's important to breathe very deeply. Take deep breaths. Don't don't take it personally. Don't get your heart warm there. Don't get yourself angry, because, and it's easier said than done, obviously, but it has to be said. Okay, it has to be said, because people sometimes don't realize that this is a huge opportunity. Whenever you're talking to anyone, even your boss, your uncle, your friend, even your enemy, whoever it is, just try to understand, try to see beyond the words, see beyond why did this person say that, what is behind these words. Once your soul actually knows a lot more than we give credit for. And it's important that you ask yourself, why is that person saying that? Why did he say like that? What do he mean by that? Is there something behind that? This could save us a lot of headaches. If you obviously are trying to open a new business, let's say, and you really believe in your idea, and your heart and your mind agree to that, then this could be a test of your character, which is even better. You can just brush it off and be off on good terms. I'm going to see why this is important, why this is good if it's a test of character. And as I said before, the way to process all this information is by praying to God and asking him to clarify that. We all have God available to us 24/7. He's much closer than some we give credit for. And having said all that, we learned in the previous webinars that we're always receiving mochin, which is essentially divine consciousness. This is what makes life sweet. This is what makes us flow and be smooth and be happy, and everything is dandy and we have energy. Okay, this is called mochin. Mochin means we have a sense of purpose inside of us at any given moment. And this is essentially the meaning of tikkun. We are repairing our vessels by having this divine consciousness. We're always getting divine consciousness, the mochin, from the different cycles that we're going through. This is what the Rashash, Rabbi Shalom Sharbi, teaches extensively in his works. Now, we only receive mochin, obviously, from the level that we can reach, never above. There's an order to that. And it's imperative that we make the necessary vessels. How do we make the vessels? Well, if we don't, first of all, if we don't have the vessels, we can try to reach as much as we can, but we are never going to be able to reach the level that we want. And it's important that we don't take a step longer than our legs, because then we can run the risk of breaking those vessels, because we're trying to bring a much bigger light than the vessels can hold. And this can be, by the way, a lot very problematic, because a person can start fasting and thinking and studying, let's say 12 hours per day or 18 hours per day, as many people have tried that, and they just break. They literally break. When their minds break, it's a mess. Okay, so don't try that. Now, whenever we do tikkun, we're actually rectifying the fallen vessels that fell from the lower 7 Sefirot of the primordial worlds, and we bring them to their place. And then we're bringing down divine light. And so the effort that we put into creating the vessels is what will determine their size and their power. The more we put effort, the more we get back. Same principle as when we are relating to each other. When we finish one tikkun, we move to another one. And this is why it can be so difficult sometimes that people complain, well, but my life is not changing anything. There's nothing going on for me in life. I can't see anything going on. But no, they're actually going up. And in fact, in Shara Kavanot, the gate of mystical intentions by Darizal, he teaches us that no prayer is ever the same as the one from the previous day. It's not even similar to the one in the same day, because we pray 3 times a day, right? In the morning, in the afternoon, and the evening. And there will never arise a prayer similar to that prayer from the beginning of creation to that day, and from that day until the end of creation. Now let that sink in. Okay, this is very, very powerful. This is, I the first time I read that, my mind blew. Okay, and this, we're always doing prayer, and the way we act is it should be one and the same, as King David said, I am prayer. He declared, I am prayer. My essence is prayer. And so when people get on our nerves, it is nothing less than a test on whether we deserve this mochin or not. This is just we can choose to be angry, to be affected by that, or we can choose to actually go higher. And we have to remember always that no one can affect our mood without our permission. We control ourselves. We control how we react. We control how we are going to become. And so having this in mind makes life a lot easier to do with other people. And I know other people can be a challenge. Okay, trust me. Yeah, it's not easy, but in any case, we learn. Okay, and another piece of advice which can help us greatly is that when we are able to accept insults and humiliations with happiness, that's a huge, an unbelievable part of atonement for our sins and elevation, as Rabbi Nachman Breslov explains in Likutei Moharan. This is a very, very, very high level to aspire, but it's reachable if you can just make an effort to it. And in the end, what's the worst that can happen? People just say something nasty to us, and okay, nothing happened. Okay, we go on with life. We're still in one piece, because the sages say that when this is done in public, a person loses, so to speak, his blood on his face, or he becomes white. That is considered then as if the person died, really, for real. So if a person suffers a humiliation in public, then he becomes nothing less than the 4th leg of the throne of God. In our Mishnah, in Pirkei Avot, everybody knows that. Most of the people know. It's a very well-known Mishnah. Shimon HaTzadik says that the word stands on 3 things: Ala Torah, Ve'al Avodah, Ve'al Gemilut Chasadim. The word stands on 3 things, which are the Torah, the Avodah, which is the prayer, and Gimilut Chasdim, which is the acts of loving kindness, of generosity. Okay. Now, there's a problem because how can something stands on three legs? It's not very very firm. It's not very balanced, right? So there needs to be a fourth leg. And many commentators say that the Torah is Yaakov Avinu, our forefather. The Avodah, which is the act of prayer, is Yitzchak, and Gemilut Chasdim is Abraham. So the fourth prayer, the fourth leg of the throne, is actually King David, who is the most humble person who ever existed, and he's the one, the king of Israel, who was humiliated, beyond our comprehension, but nevertheless he accepted everything. And so when somebody is able to accept insults from others, especially in public, that is a very, very powerful thing. And we have tons of stories here in Israel and outside of Israel where people were humiliated and suddenly they are able to perform miracles and bless people, and their blessings are 100% true. So I can't really say right now how much this is real, but there was one soldier who was once humiliated in a certain festival, and he was not even religious, and he couldn't care less. But there was a certain woman came to him and started berating him. How could he do something like that? I don't know what he was about, and he just stood still without replying to her, and and as people were watching all that, horrified. How could come on, the soldier didn't do anything. He's not. He's just a functionary of the state, right? And so another woman saw that, and she begged the soldier to bless her with a child because she couldn't have a child. And the soldier was, shocked. He said, "Lady, why don't from me? I don't believe in now." And end of that, she insisted, "No, I want you to bless me. I want you to tell me I'm gonna have a kid." And he said, "Well, what are they supposed to say? Okay, fine, have a kid, whatever. I don't care." And she never had a kid. And many other stories. There was a certain rabbi in a certain setting, certain meeting of rabbis, and he was supposedly pretty well respected. He was there with his son. And suddenly came one rabbi who did not like him so much, and he started shaking everybody's hands. Okay, he started shaking, and then he just suddenly skipped this rabbi's hand. He just didn't give him the hand and just went as if he wasn't even there. And so the son was shocked. He was like, "Father, I'm gonna beat this guy up, not beat him up, but I'm going to talk to him and just give him the discipline of lifetime, because what is this? This is an absurd thing he just did. You don't do that even if you're his enemy." And the father said, "No, don't say anything. I don't want anything." But the son said, "I am obligated to uphold your honor. I'm obligated to at least to tell him a piece of my mind." The father said, "No, don't say anything. I forbid you on the commandment to respect parents. You are forbidden from saying anything from him." So a few days passed, and he got 800,000 shekels, and that was basically God pays in ways we don't understand sometimes, and sometimes in ways we do understand very well. Be that as it may, receiving insults is a very, very powerful thing. If you can receive insults in public and be happy and just be quiet, this is unbelievably powerful. Now, as I mentioned before, we always receive mochin, which is divine consciousness, and as we receive mochin, we are going from place to place and going up in the order of the spiritual worlds. Rav Chaim Vital in Sharei Kedusha teaches us that would we know the importance of being humiliated, would be rushing to the marketplace to find somebody to humiliate us. That's how powerful it is. That's how we should actually laugh when people humiliate us, because it's just they're actually giving us diamonds, and it's a pity that sometimes we just lose ourselves there. And it's important to keep in mind that we are constantly on the rise and building our Olam Haba, the world to come, both Jews and non-Jews as well. And we are just, every single moment that we have in this life is an opportunity to build that. As many people know, we are doing the berur, the sifting of the vessels, of these primordial vessels that broke, which are the lower 7 sefirot. This is why they're the most difficult ones to rectify. We suffer because why? Because we can't bring the mochin down to these sefirot inside of us. And when this process is done, then we will live in this world, the Olam Haba, after Mashiach comes, obviously, that will be beyond anything that we understand. It will be a completely different category of pleasure, a completely different perception, a completely different new rules that we can't even imagine. And so I also mentioned previously that being alive is a tremendous act of compassion from God, because souls can take tens or dozens or even hundreds of years to incarnate. So the fact that we are here is something so very, very powerful, and people are here to help us. That's what we need to keep in mind. Other people, no matter what, how we deal with them, no matter our relationship to them, they're all here to help us. And this is not just some woo-woo thing, as we just saw. They are unwittingly or not, or wittingly, giving us guidance to reach our tikkun. And so one of the most important things is to realize is to be constantly happy with what we have, because when we're happy, then people don't get to us. It's very, very difficult for people to get to us, to just break us. And the future redemption is very soon upon us. Hopefully, we are praying for it every day, for Jews and non-Jews as well. And we'll be, Hashem should merit all that.